Because the leading coefficient is not 1, the product will be this now. The sum does not change. This is still the sum. But the product now of the numbers I'm looking for is negative 189, which is 3 times negative 63. And the sum does not change. Why I say it's difficult, it's because the number, especially the product, is so large. Very difficult to come up with two numbers whose product is negative 189 and whose sum is 20. It will be easier if I present the prime factorization of this product. So instead of looking at this huge number, I say 3 times 63. Of course, it's negative, but for now, just bear with me. 3 times 63. And I know that 63 is 7 times 9, which is 3 times 3. So this number is composed by 3, 3, 3, and 7. Because the number is negative, I know I'm looking for a positive and a negative, and their sum has to be 20. Is there any way we can group all these factors into two numbers whose product is the whole thing? Of course, it's going to be negative. One will be negative and one will be positive. And when I add these two numbers, I get positive 20.
Group of threes would be 27, and then the 7 would end up being negative because.
So what would you write?
27 or minus 7.
Okay, so this is my 27 and this is my 7. Once you have it broken up into prime numbers, it will always be easier. It will always be easier to figure out those two numbers. So after all this work, I know now that I'm looking at 27 and a negative 7. Please bear with me and see what follows next. I will rewrite the trinomial, replacing 20x by 27x minus 7x. Using these numbers, I'm replacing 20x. So here it is. 3x squared plus 27x minus 7x minus 63. And you can say, what did you accomplish? A lot. Because I know what to do with 4 terms. And there is only one method that is applicable with 4 terms. What is it? Factoring by thank you. So please group the first two and tell me what do you, if you were just factoring this binomial, what will you factor out? What is the greatest common factor in these two? Good. What is left in parentheses? X plus?
Yeah.
Careful, X plus? Good. What should I have coming out? I don't even look because who knows what I'm going to write. I may make a mistake and that will be terrible. So what should I get from the other two for sure so I can continue? Otherwise, I can't continue.
You're covering up the other.
I don't even want to look at that.
Oh.
I don't even care what's in there. I know exactly what I have to have because otherwise I can't continue. If it's x minus 9, I will not be able to continue. It has to be the same. If it's not the same, I will not be able to factor. No, it has to be the same. If it's not x plus 9, I will not be able to continue.
Isn't that what she said?
Yeah.
Maybe, I'm sorry, if you did, I apologize. I need a sign and a factor. Sign and factor. And factor. Perfect. Now what is common to these two has to go out. What is common to these two? What is common to this term as well as to this term? Good. So it's pulled out. What is left from the first term? Minus 7. Ready for the next problem? Ready for the next problem? Okay. Let's work on another one together and then I'll give you a couple. Let's say 15. 10x squared plus 31x plus 3. I go through my list. Number 1, it's a trinomial. Number 2, it's in descending order. No negative leading coefficient, no greatest common factor, no special product, I wish. And the leading coefficient is not 1. So therefore, I know that I'm looking for two numbers whose product is very good, 30, and whose sum is
1.
very good. Since everything is positive, everything should be positive. The numbers should be positive. So then, which numbers I need to use? Do you all agree with 30 and 1? Is the product 30? 30 times 1. Is the product 30? Is 30 plus 1 the sum 31? Perfect. Now please tell me what to write. How do I rewrite the problem using the numbers that I just discovered? 10x squared plus 30x and plus, what will you factor out from the first two? 10x. What is left in parentheses? What has to come out from the other two? I don't even look because who knows what I come up with. If it's not x plus 3, I cannot continue. But I cannot fabricate it. It should be there because I determined the numbers correctly. I need a sign and a number or factor. Any factor, it doesn't have to be a number, whatever it is. Sign. Sign. Yes? Very good. And that because we don't write it. Now, what is the common factor that gets pulled out? What is left from those two terms? From the first one, is left 10x, and from the other one is left 1. Okay, ready? Yes?
Go from 31 to 30.
This one?
Yeah.
Because 30 apples plus 1 apple is 31. So this is this. Very good. Ready for the next one? 18. 3n squared plus 20n plus 5.
Is that 3n squared or
3n squared. There was something on the paper. And then I like to look at 72.
This is number 18, right?
Yes. Descending order, trinomial descending order, no negative leading coefficient, no greatest common factor. I wish for a special product, there is none. 1 is not the leading coefficient, so then I know that I need to find two numbers whose product is perfect and whose sum is good. So 15 is 3 times 5, nothing else. So is there any way I can get a 20 as a sum? $72. 72.
If we write prime,
That's fine. A polynomial, I don't consider it can be prime. A number can be prime, but in fact, a polynomial cannot be can be factorable or not. That's fine.
It's not factorable because 3 doesn't go into 20.
No, because we could not find two numbers whose product is 15 and whose sum is 20. They don't exist.
Okay.
Can anyone give us the first step?
take the negative out.
Yes. It's in descending order. No negative leading, there is a negative leading coefficient, but no greatest common factor, no special product, and the leading coefficient is not 1. So what do we have in parentheses? Can anyone dictate?
15x squared minus 26x plus 8.
Very good. So therefore, you're looking for two numbers whose product is, you don't even have to multiply, just write 15 times 8. That's even better. And whose sum is negative 26. Perfect. So remember, 15 times 8 is 3 times 5, and 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So let's look at these and try to find two numbers. Since the product is positive, what type of numbers am I looking for? Two positives, two negatives, or a positive and a negative? I can't. If the product is positive, I'm looking for either two positives or two negatives. But since their sum is negative, what am I looking for? Two negatives. Very good. So they both have to be negative. So can we find two negative numbers whose using all these factors? Just use all the factors and come up with two numbers. And when you add them, you get 26. Which ones?
It's negative 30 and negative 4.
Both have to be negative. Negative 30 and positive 4.
Negative 30 and negative 4.
But negative 30 and minus 4 would be negative 34.
Negative 20 and negative 5 is 6 as well.
So negative 20, which will be this, and negative 6, which will be this. Negative 20 and negative 6. Very good. So now can anyone dictate the next step?
Negative times 15x minus
The negative is outside. It cannot touch anything. It's outside.
times 15
Okay. Squared.
minus 20
Very good.
minus 16
Very good.
plus 8.
Very good. So please factor out something from the first two. Greatest common factor. I shouldn't say something. Factor the greatest common factor from the first two.
5,
And
So,
just 5 is not good enough.
x.
oh, 5 actually.
Good. In parentheses. I have to use brackets because I also use parentheses inside.
3x minus 4.
What do I have to have from the other two? I don't even look.
3x minus 4.
Now I look. I need sign and factor. If I write positive 2, it's not going to work. Positive 2 times 3x is not negative 6x, and positive 2 times negative 4 is not positive 8. Negative 2 indeed. So writing the 3x minus 4 does not allow me to write just anything in front, right? It has to be there. Good. So then I have negative outside, and then a common factor goes out, which is very good. And then I have left 5x minus 2. Did we get the picture? Can we look at applications now? I'm sorry? You mean this one here? 5x times 3x is 15x squared. 5x times negative 4 is negative 20x. Is that okay? Okay. So finally, let's also talk about polynomials, and then we'll mix them up, and then applications. Strategy, the last one, of factoring polynomials. Strategy of factoring polynomials. 1, what is it? 2, descending order. 3, negative leading coefficient. 4, greatest common factor. 5, factoring or factor by grouping. This is the easiest of all. That's it. Number 100 on page 412. A to the third minus 45 minus 9a plus 5a squared. Okay. A cubed minus 45 minus 9a plus 5a squared. What is it? It's a polynomial. Is it in descending order? No. So I have to rearrange it. A cubed, then 5a squared, then minus 45. Negative leading coefficient, no. Greatest common factor, none. Factor by grouping. I'm ready. What should be the factor coming out of the other two? And now? Negative 9 indeed. What is the common factor that gets pulled out? A plus 5. What is left in parentheses after that?
A minus 9.
A squared minus 9. This is I'm back now to binomials, and I know that a squared minus 9 is factorable. And how? Very good. And this is it. This polynomial is completely factored. Okay, let's work on 94. And then applications. They could be all random, but at least equations. I need to solve equations using factoring. Okay, 94. X cubed minus 2x squared minus 36x plus 72, because I'm sure you are asking yourselves, why do I need to learn this? And I'll explain, I'll show you why we go through this. And the first application is solving equations by factoring. The second application will be everything in chapter 7. Everything in chapter 7 is based on this. Okay, 1 minute. Ready? Okay. Polynomial, descending order, negative leading coefficient, greatest common factor. Okay. So for 4 terms, always easy. There is only one method, no special products, nothing. So what do I do? Good. So what will you factor out? What is left? What should I have from the other two? Now I look.
Negative 36.
What comes out? What is left? Which I know how to factor. Very good. Excellent. Okay, applications of factoring. First application is solve equations by factoring. Solving equations by factoring. And the second application, which we will not get to today, is entire chapter 4. I'm sorry, chapter 7. Okay? Everything in chapter 7 is based on factoring. We'll look at chapter 7 after chapter 9, after chapter 11 actually. Okay? Ready? Page 419. Let's start with an easy one. 24. X squared minus 3x equals 0. This is, yes?
The number one, it just says solve equations by factoring, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I should have written solving equations by factoring. So, solving equations by factoring, and then the second application is entire chapter 7. Okay? So, this is a quadratic equation. I have to set it equal to 0. It's already set equal to 0. I look at the binomial. It's in descending order, no negative leading coefficient, but it has a common factor. These two terms have a common factor, which is good. So what is left in parentheses? So you remember when we have a product that is set equal to 0, two things can happen. Either A can be 0, or the second option is B can be 0. If A is 0, then how much is X? If X is 0, X is 0. So if the other factor is 0, then X is
0.
X minus 3 equals 0. I move 3 to the other side, and I get X equals 3. So the solution set is 0, comma 3. No brackets or parentheses, braces. Any questions here?
Can we do some more?
I just started.
Oh, okay.
This was the starting. One little problem, just one. Okay. You can choose, if you have your book, from 1 through 44. Actually, 1 through 82. Okay? Next problem. 27. X squared equals 16. Here we have two options. We're asked to use factoring. But I would like to show you the other option because you know it already. But after we solve by factoring. What will be the first step here, please? You're right. Yes, that's what I wanted to show you. So you know that's from chapter 10 that x equals plus or minus 4. But we want to factor. So I want to solve this equation by factoring because that's what we are trying to practice or practice now. So what do I do? Of course, because I can factor if one term is on one side of the equal symbol and another term, the other is on the other side, of course. And now I can factor. It's a binomial, it's in descending order, no greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, special product, yes, and the special product is? So I have two options. When x minus 4 is 0, then x is. And when x plus 4 is 0, then x is. What is it? X minus 4 is 0. I move 4 to the other side, so I get 4. X plus 4 is 0. I move 4 to the other side, and I get negative 4. Very good.
And then you just put that in the braces.
Yes. So solution set plus or minus 4. Thank you for reminding me. 31. X times 3x minus 1 equals 14. Can anyone tell us what to do? Very good. It has to be set equal to 0. Excellent. Perfect step. Next one. Say it again. Okay, I have to. It's a trinomial. It's in descending order. No greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, no special product. I hope for a special product, but no. And no leading coefficient of 1. So I'm down to the last chance, the most difficult one, in which I have to find two numbers whose product is and the same numbers whose sum is. Product.
3 times negative 14.
That's good. That's how you should keep it. You don't need a big number. Okay? And sum, negative 1. So 3 and 14. 3, 2, and 7. Since the product is a negative number, what type of numbers am I looking for? 2 positives, 2 negatives, or 1 positive and 1 negative?
Positive and negative.
Wonderful. So look at this. Come up with two numbers whose product is the whole thing. Once you use all factors, the product will be that. And whose sum is negative 1. What will you conclude here? Yes. Which one is negative? Negative 7 plus 6. Good. So now I have to rewrite the equation. And how do I change the left-hand side?
3x squared
Yes? Yes?
minus no plus.
Very good. Set equal to 0. Perfect. Excellent. What comes out from the first two? Good. What is left in parentheses? What should I have from the other two? And notice one thing. After I put the parentheses, I write the equal symbol and 0. Because if I forget the equal symbol and 0, I will never solve for anything. It has to be 3x minus 7 in
2.
And what do I put outside? I need sign and factor. Exactly. If I don't put the plus, then I mess up the problem. Because it becomes one factor instead of two terms. So what comes out?
3x minus 7
What is left in parentheses?
plus 2.
X plus 2. What are the options? X equals, X equals. Take a moment and solve those two equations and tell me what does X equal to. Say it again. One of them is negative 2. And the other one is? Exactly. You move negative 7 to the other side. It becomes 7 divided by 3. Any questions, please? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, here's your next problem, 69. And then 71. And then 64. Let me know if you need help. Can anyone dictate the first step, please? Say it again. Okay, so then you will say 8y squared minus 12y equals 0. Very good. Next. Yes, but since this is an equation, I will divide both sides by no variables ever, but by a common factor that is a number and that I can get rid of. 4. So please tell me the new equation. Give me the new equation after you divide both sides by 4. You cannot divide by y. You're not allowed to. Ever. 2y squared minus 3y. Now this is a binomial. It's in descending order and it has a common factor, which is? Careful. The common factor is? Good. What is left in parentheses? Don't forget equals 0. And then you'll give me two options.
So how did you get rid of the 4?
I am allowed to divide both sides of an equation by 4.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, never mind.
The solution will never change.
I thought dividing it by 4, you would move the 4 on the outside.
No, I divided both.
Like you took
Both?
4 out.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yes. In an equation, I'm allowed to divide both sides by 4.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be
the
4y and then the parentheses?
But I divided both sides by 4. 8y squared divided by 4 is 2y squared. 12y divided by 4 is 3y. 0 divided by 4 is 0.
Okay.
The solution will not change. The reason why I'm doing this is, don't change anything, I will here. If I put the 4 in there, many students write 4 equals 0 as the first solution. Can 4 be 0? No. So since I'm allowed to divide both sides by 4, why not get rid of it? The key here is always simplify an equation before you solve it, because you're going to make your life easier. So this equation can be divided both sides by 4. And I got rid of it from the beginning. The solutions will still be the same. Can anyone give us the solutions? When the first factor is 0, what do I get? Good. When the second factor is 0, what do I get? Say it again. I move -3 to the other side and I get 3, and I have to divide by 2. So 2y minus 3 equals 0 means 2y equals 3, which means y equals 3 halves. Okay? Questions here? Questions? Okay, 71. 71, we have 7x cubed minus 7x equals 0. What will you do first? If you agree with me. If you don't agree with me, you still get the same solutions, which I'm just fine. Say it again. I will definitely get rid of 7. What's the point? And carry it over. It's not going to make any difference. And I would like to work with 1, then 7. So then I have x cubed minus x equals 0. Now, before we continue, what is the degree of this polynomial? Yes. How many solutions I have to write? Absolutely. Please keep that in mind. Degree is 3. We have to come up with 3 solutions. It's a binomial. It's in descending order. Does it have a common factor? Okay, pull it out. Let's see what happens next. Perfect. What happens to that? And the solutions are? Very good. Yes, if you want to write the solution set, I would write it like this. 0, comma, plus or minus 1. Okay, what was the other problem? 64. 64. Why? Yes? 1, plus or minus 1.
Next to that. To the left. Plus or minus, just the left line. Okay.
The plus and the minus. Y minus 5, y minus 2 times y minus 2 equals 28. Okay, let's work on this. And then on 44. Okay, can anyone suggest anything? Say it again. Yes, of course. Yep. So I have y squared, and then yes, and minus 28. Very good. So therefore y squared minus 7y. It's a trinomial. It's in descending order. No negative leading coefficient, no greatest common factor, no special product, but 1 is the leading coefficient. Perfect. Excellent.
Y minus 9, y plus 2.
We all agree with negative 9 times 2 being negative 18 and negative 9 plus 2 being negative 7. So therefore, the equation has two solutions. Y equals, yes? Excellent. Let's look at 44. Oops, I turned the page. I lost 44. Lost in space. Okay, got it. 15x cubed and plus 24x squared and minus 63x. And this is problem 44 on page 420. I will definitely divide all three terms, both sides by 3, absolutely. Because it's so much more difficult to, and I will also factor out x first. Actually, no, you're right. First divide, and then multiply, and then factor out x. So as you said, I will divide both sides by 3 first. So I get 5x cubed plus 8x squared minus 21x. And then I will factor out x. First of all, how many solutions will this equation have? Absolutely 3 because the degree is 3. Perfect.
I have a question.
Please.
Oh, no, I wrote the problem wrong.
Oh, that's
No, I
okay.
didn't.
That's okay. I do that too sometimes.
Yeah, okay. Why wouldn't you pull out 3x?
Because I want to get rid of numbers, and
So-
numbers will not change. If I divide
So are
both,
we wrong if I did that?
no, you'll get the same solutions. You'll get the same solutions, but if you
No,
write
I see it's easier to pull out a 21, negative 21.5 than it is negative.
Exactly.
Okay.
And also, if a student writes the 3 equals 0 is the first solution, then I will. So I want to avoid that. So then 5x squared plus 8x minus 21 equals 0. Trinomial, it's in descending order. No negative leading coefficient, no special product. 1 is not the leading coefficient, so it's definitely the last one and the most difficult. So I'm looking to find two numbers whose product is and whose sum is. Yes, let's write it as 5 and 21, which is 3, 5, and 7, and whose sum is positive 8. Since the product is negative, what type of numbers am I looking for? Perfect. So I need to use all these factors, but just come up with two numbers, one negative and one positive, whose sum will be 8. Very good. So 15 and negative 7. Therefore, how do I rewrite the equation? So x, I need brackets, 5x squared plus 15x minus 7x minus 21. Because the next step is x is outside. What do you pull out from the first two? Good. And in parentheses? So what is left from the other two? Indeed, negative 7. So therefore x, and in parentheses? And also, again in parentheses? 3 options, please.
So I have a question.
Please.
So if the power was to start with like 5x to the 5th, you'd have to come up with 5 solutions?
Absolutely mandatory.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, x equals 0. 7/5. Very good. One more. Oops, sorry. X squared plus 14x plus 49 equals 0. And this is 67 on 420. It's a trinomial. It's in descending order. No negative leading coefficient, no greatest common factor. Special product. I always hope for a special product. Those are easy. If this is a special product, what will it be? What could it be if it is?
Plus 7.
Squared equals 0. What is the middle term here? 2 times x times 7. What is it?
14.
Is it? Good. So 2 options, which actually reduce to 1. Because they are the same. How much? Perfect. So now this is basically also the introduction to chapter 11.